Hi everyone, welcome to class. In this video, we're going to be making the basic bodice block, and this is the block. Like I said, is the foundation. We're going to be transferring whatever pattern we drafted on this block to our working block when we need it. And then this is my pattern paper. You need a thick pattern paper for a foundation block. We have different thickness. We have 60 grams, we have 70, we have 80, in fact even more than 80, but 80 grams is okay for the foundational block because it's quite thicker. And then your working block, you can use 70 or 60 grams. These are the tools we'll be working with. We have the rulers. We have the straight ruler here, and then this is the hip curve, and then this is the armhole curve. Then you need your paper scissors, you need the masking tape or the paper gum tape, you need your pencil, you can use a marker pen, and then you need your tracing wheel, you need pins, and then most importantly, you need your tape measure, the tape roll. All right, so I haven't gotten all of this, we can get started. The measurement you need to get the width of the paper is the hip circumference. Your hip circumference will be divided by 2 plus extra 1 inch. So let's say the hip here is 45 divided by 2, that will be 11.5. If you add 1 to it, that will be 22.5 rather, and if you add 1 to it, it will give you 23.5, meaning that your paper must be wider than 23.5. Your paper must be wider than half of your hip width plus extra 1 inch. So here I have 24.5. So you can see my paper is wider by 1 inch. So that means I can distribute the excess on both sides as margin, which is okay. Then at the upper part, you want to leave about 1 inch out. The reason for all of this margin is because this is our foundational block and it will be reused over and over again. And so that the wear and tear affecting the paper will not affect the main lines of the patterns. That is why we always leave margin out. We always add margin rather when we are drafting the foundational block. So once you've gotten the dimension of the paper you needed, you can draw your margin and then start drafting. All right, so we're going to be starting with the back block. All right, to start drafting, we need to get the length. The length is going to guide us in getting our horizontal lines. The first thing you want to do is get the shoulder line. The shoulder line is 1.5 from the top line. This is the top line. Here is the center front, while here is the center back. So having labeled the top line, the center front, the center back, then you want to get the shoulder line. The shoulder line is 1.5 inches from the top line, constant for all sizes. But for some plus sizes, some people who have a very slanted shoulder, their shoulder slope is quite a lot, so you might want to use like 2 inches for their shoulder line instead of 1.5. But averagely, we use 1.5 inches. Now, having gotten that, from the shoulder line, you're going to take down to the armhole line or the bust line. So the armhole depth is what you're taking out, that will fall on the bust line, is exact armhole circumference divided by 2. Mine is 17 for this measurement, for this particular pattern, 17 inches. Half of it is 8.5 rather. Then you want to rule horizontal line there. Make sure that your lines are thick here. Next is your waist length. So we're going to be working with the front waist length first before we now adjust to the back waist length. So whatever you have measured for your waist length is what we are going to be placing here. Now all your length starts from the top line except the bust line. You can see from here to here now is from the top line, but the bust line is starting from the shoulder line. Don't forget that. Okay, always have that in mind. I haven't done this. If you want to draw your hip line, so averagely I use between 9 and 10 inches. So for this, I'm going to be working with 10 inches. But when you're placing the hip measurement, you want to place it about 1 inch above the waistline, and you understand the reason why later. Okay, you understand the reason why later. So after this, we'll now start with the back block. First thing you want to do is to place your neck width. Average neck width is 3 inches. I'll just do 3 inches, mark it on the shoulder line and take it up by 1 inch like this. All right. And then from that point, that's my neck point. From that neck point, I'll place the tape on the 3 inches, which is the width we used. And then I'll bend it towards the shoulder line to get my shoulder slope. So you're going to be placing half of your shoulder width here. So the shoulder width here is 18 inches, but my tape is going to intersect the shoulder line at 7. Yes. Then you continue half of 16 inches, which is 8 inches, like that. So you can see that the intersection between the tape and the shoulder line is 7. So this is where the shoulder point is. Then I'll make connection like this. Okay, so this is the shoulder point. Then I'm going to be using my armhole curve to create the neckline. So make sure it's sitting this way. Just blend it with the shoulder line, like so. You have a perfect neckline and a shoulder slope. Having done that, you want to determine the halfway distance between the bust and the shoulder line. So just place it this way and halfway you want to place your back width, across back measurement. Now you can place that by just placing half of your across back. Mine here is 15 inches, half of it is 7.5. You place that 7.5 on the bust line as well, extend it to that point, and then draw a perpendicular line or vertical line. Okay, the line is perpendicular to the bust line. Yep. Oh shit. So once we've gotten this will guide us to draw our armhole circumference, because the curve of the armhole must not go inward beyond this. Then we are going to place the bust measurement. Bust measurement for this is 40 inches. We are going to be dividing it by 4 first. At the end of the day, when we are done drafting, we realize that the back bust is going to be smaller than the front bust. Just watch me do this, okay? So for those of you who are about to start arguing in your mind, why is it being divided by 4? I thought this was pattern making. Yes, you're going to see the result by the time we are done drafting. Front bust is usually wider than the back, so should it be on the pattern as well. But first we divide by 4. Now we are going to create from UP. This is UP, where this stop is called UP. Connect from UP through the across back point here to the SP. Now for some patterns, the armhole curve will grab the 3 points at once, while for some patterns it will not. So if it does, just connect them together this way, okay, and draw your line. However, if it doesn't, you want to connect this to this first, okay, then you now maneuver your way until the ruler is positioned to catch the shoulder point, connecting this point. So that is that. For net libre, if you're net libre student, there are some parameters used. So you want to take 3 cm up and connect all of those. If you know how to position your ruler, you won't have to put all of those in your head. It doesn't have to get complicated. So that is why I created this pattern for you guys. All right, now we'll go on to the waist area. This is the across back bust. So the waist area, you want to place quarter of your waist. Okay, quarter of the waist is the waist we're working with here is 34 inches. Quarter of that is 8.5. Now, there is something called darts. You can decide to have 2 darts on this back or have just 1 dart. If you're having 2 darts, you add 2 inches to your measurement and then connect to this point, to the UP. So I'm just going to make this line very faint. Okay. Now, you can see that this line is becoming, is even coming outside. This is a straight line and this is coming outside. So for people whose pattern looks like this, please, you don't need to add 2 inches, just do 1 inch is okay, because the center back dart is the most important dart for the back. You can now, if the person's waist is so small and you're having your line this slanted, like this much slanted, you can now go ahead and add 2 inches, 1 inch for the center back dart and the other 1 inch for the mid back dart. So you can see, if you see any of my pattern that does not have this particular dart usually put here on the back, just know that it's because I don't want my pattern to look like that of a pregnant woman's own or just be shapeless, because I already put what is the most important dart, which is the center back dart there already. Because the pattern I'll be using for the corset, you might not even see the dart there. All right, so let's say you are to put both darts. I'm going to be showing you in this video. There's one of my busy bodies video that I made. I didn't do this mid dart. So for those who do not understand how to place the second dart, I'll show you in this video, and I'll just make the line thing to just tell you that it is not compulsory for you to add that particular dart once you have the center back dart. The center back dart is very, very important. Now remember, I added 2 inches. Now you want to raise this point up by 1, because our back waistline is not going to be the same with the front. And at the center back here on the waistline, you want to go by 1.5 inches. So here 1, here 1.5, and then you make connection. So this is the new waistline for back. So we label that BWL, back waistline. Now let's say I am not adding 2 inches darts. I'm only adding 1. 8.5 plus 1 will give us 9.5. So this would have been my actual side seam for the back. So this other one is for when you are adding the second waistline, as you can see. So now the dart excess you added, the dart value you added must be removed. All right, so how do you do that? You come to the center back. We added 1 inch for the center back. You take that in from CB and connect to the across back line. Okay, like so. And then you come to your hip line, go up by 3 inches. Then you come and connect this to that point. This is how you get the CB dart. So it's getting shaded because it's no longer part of our measurement. It's getting reduced. Then for your waist dart, you can see this one. If you want to place your waist dart, you need half of your bust span plus half inch. So if my bust span is 8, half of it is 4 inches. 4 plus half inch will give me 4.5 inches. So you're going to take that 4.5 from the center back line. From the center back line, like so. And then the 1 inch you added, you want to take it on both sides, like this. Okay. So now this is going to join the bust line up. I'm going to stop at 3 inches be above the hip line. So just measure that 4.5 here as well, and mark 3 inches above to indicate the end of the dart below the waistline. So do the same thing here. the 4.5 line, mark it. So you can now connect this. Now make your line thick if you know that you're going to be working with this. That's why I'm just going to make it faint, because like I said before, I don't need it. Yeah. So as simple as ABC. So if this is the only dart you added, you're going to be working with this side seam. If this dart was included in your pattern, you're going to be working with this. So whichever one you're working with is what you connect to the hip. I hope that is clear. So for me, I'm just going to eliminate this middle dart because this is what I want to work with. So I just needed to show you guys before I proceed. Okay. Oh, let me place the hip measurement first. The hip here is actually 45 inches is not 11.5, it's 11 and quarter. So sorry for that error. So yeah, it was just a miscalculation. So you get that from the center back. And like I said, if this is what you're working with, you want to connect it. So let's just connect it with a broken line as well. So you can see this is what the line looks like. Can you see how it looks super straight and shapeless? So that's why I don't like always, the reason why you're adding that is basically to control excess. Okay, so if the waist is not so defined, what are you controlling? Okay, where the dart is mostly important on our body is under the bust and above the bust area. If you need it there, if you need the above of the bust to be contoured. So you can say, I hope this is clear to you guys. So let's say this is our actual measurement. Now you see that we're going to be having quarter of 34 here, which is 8.5. Can you see? That's that. And if we are going to be working with this dart, it means our measurement to stop here. I believe this is actually clear and self-explanatory enough for you guys not to be confused. The back bodice is as simple as this, as simple as ABC. If ABC is actually simple, yeah. Let's say you're making a dress with zipper, just zipper. You want to take some dart here as well, because if you notice some dresses that usually bulge, even after using this center back dart, some dresses will still bulge, especially for people who are plus sized. Here is what you want to do. Yeah. From here, you want to go by half inch, like this. From here, you want to go by half inch, and from here, you want to go down by 1 inch. That's total of 1.5. It will tighten this place very well. For small size people, you can use just half on both sides. That will be total of 1 inch. So we are going to be closing these darts if you're making a dress that doesn't have a cut on the waistline. And if it does have a cut on the waistline, this is the line you are cutting. This is the line you'll be cutting if it does have a cut on the waistline. I hope we are all clear. That is that, as simple as ABC. Okay guys, let's get started with the front bodice. So all the length for the front bodice will be starting from the top line. So for the front, you want to place your tape this way. From the center front, you mark 3 inches, which is the neck width backward. Unlike the back, where the neck point is not on the top line, the front is going to be on the top line. Now from that spot, you take down towards the shoulder slope, exact half of the shoulder width. Okay, now the intersection is exact half of the shoulder width this time around. Then you're going to be continuing by adding that value. So for this, I'm going to be adding 3 inches that value. Then you make connection. So this is the neck point for the front and shoulder points for the front. Yep. So having done that, you want to mark down about 3¼ inches. You can do 3.5, but you can also do 3¼ inch. Just add quarter to the neck width. Then you draw a right angle line like so. This is just a guide for your neck curve for the front. And for the curve, you want to place a ruler sitting this way, or you mark forward 1¼ from this angle and draw the line, the curve through that point. And there you have your perfect neck for the front. Next thing I'm going to do is I'll get the bust point from the shoulder line. Bust point for this is 11.5 inches. So once you've gotten the bust point, you want to mark a line like so. That line is going to be called the true bust line. All right, the true bust line. Now on the true bust line, you want to mark inward half of the bust span. So here half of the bust span is 4. That is the apex. So now we are going to be connecting our darts to this point. How do you get your dart value? You want to measure the value on your NP to SP for the back. Here I have 5 inches. Or you can say your shoulder width minus the dart value. Shoulder width is 8 inches, right? Half of the shoulder width is 8 inches. That value is 3 inches. So if you remove 3 from 8, you're going to be having 5 inches. So you want to divide that 5 into 2. So you'll be having 2.5 from here and 2.5 from the neck point. That will leave you with that value in the middle. Then you're going to connect those points to the apex like this. So So these are the shoulder dart legs. This is the leg and this is the apex. Next, you want to go up by 2 inches from the bust line to mark your chest line. 2 inches from the bust line, constant for all sizes. Then you mark your chest line like so. And then you want to place your chest width. Chest width for this measurement is also 15 inches. Sometimes it's 2 inches less than the shoulder width. So whatever value you get, you place half of the chest width here is 7.5. Okay, so from here to here is 4.5. You want to skip the dart and continue until you reach that 7.5. So once you've gotten to that point, you want to connect this point to the shoulder point and take it down perpendicularly like so. Okay, to be perpendicular to the bust line. Now let's label this place chest. Then you want to place your bust measurements. Now your bust measurements will be divided by 4. So if you divide 40 by 4, you're going to be getting 10. Then you add extra 1 inch. That 1 inch is to take care of the dart that is going, that is, this dart is taking some value off, and on the back pattern as well. You can see that that's also taking some value off. So that will make up for the value this dart and this dart are taking off. So this also, the fact that that is going off here will make the back bust smaller than the front. Since the extra is being added, you can see that the back now is about 19 inches in total. So if you remove 19 from 40, that will be giving like 21. So basically the front is already 2 inches more than the back. So you can see that our front and back is not the same at the end of the day. So now I'll proceed. Now the extra 1 inch you added there is not only taking care of this dart intakes, it's also going to help your armor curve to be perfect. So from this point, this is the UP for the front, you want to connect to the SP through this line. Okay, so from this line, you can just, if you know how to place your ruler well, you can just draw your armor curve. But this is a guide for those who cannot place their ruler well. So you want to measure like about 1 inch or maybe 2 cm. Depends on, yeah, this curve actually depends on how deep the armor is going to be or how busted the person is. So sometimes the value from here actually varies. So for this particular one, 2 cm is actually okay. Then you want to connect inward maybe about 1/4 inch and take that 1/4 inch from the midpoint of SP and chest point. This is chest point. So you just want to connect. So it also depends on how long the armhole is, because the distance between here and here for some people is quite longer than this. So that will also determine how you're going to do the curve. And this is a perfect curve. You must not have anything looking pointy here. Here must not point out too much. If it's coming like this, if the shoulder point is here and the armhole is coming like, just that there is a problem. Okay, so it has to be moderate. The curve has to be moderate, and that is that. Let me make the line deeper. So that's that. Now we are going to be coming to the waist area. So for the waist measurement, like we said earlier, is 8.5. Now you're going to be adding 2 inches for the front. The 2 inches for the front is compulsory because of contouring. Now from that point, you want to go by 1 inch so that I can balance with the back seam. So this is the UP for the front, the UP for the back. So from here, you connect to, waist point rather, WP rather. That's waist point. You connect to the UP like so. Okay. Yeah. So next, you want to place your front dart. The front dart will be placed on the half of the bust band, which is 4, and now you're going to be taking half on both sides and then connect to 1 inch below the bust point like so. Can you see that? Now you're going to measure that half of the bust band on the hip as well and go up by 2 inches. That's where you'll connect the dart below. Now remember that we added 2 inches. We added 2 inches and we've only taken off 1 inch. So the remaining 1 inch, you just move it to the left. You're not taking it off yet. Just want to connect that to the waist point like so. So we can have our waistline. So if you are going to be having a cut on the dress, the cut is going to follow this line like this. Now we are going to be placing our hip measurement. Hip plus extra 1 inch. So the hip here is 11.25 plus 1 will give us 12.25. So, and that is literally what we have here. It's almost a bit short safe. Thank God. So we are going to be adding extra 1 inch. I'll be showing you how to eliminate that extra 1 inch very soon. So you'll be connecting this to the hip, the waist point. Like so. Can you see that? That is that. So now the last thing we are going to be doing here before contouring is to align our shoulder dart leg. Most people usually forget to do this. It is very, very important. So you want to place this line on the edge of the table. I'm not sure if you guys can see it from here, but let me just do it this way. You want to just create a crease line. The reason why this should be placed on the edge of the table is it will prevent puff, or you can still do it even without that because it's temporary fold. So you want to hold this. You can see that it's puffing out. If you put it at the edge of the paper, it won't puff out. You want to create a crease line on one of the dart legs like this. Can you see, to meet the other dart leg, and then you use a ruler to connect SP and NP together in this manner. So once you've done that, you can just use your tracing wheel to mark it out like so, trace it out, and then open up. By the time you open up, you will see the line this one is following like so, and the other one will come up like this. So you just want to extend this to meet it. So that way you have balanced the shoulder line, so that when you are going to be having a cut, this point and this point will be equal. That is the essence of that shoulder dart. alignment. And that is that about the basic body. This is just the basic body. There's no contouring, no shaping and all of that. So if you're making a dress, a free dress, you can work with this. If you want to make it just normal fitted dress, you can remove the extra 1 inch we added to the waist from the side and then make a normal fitted dress. However, if you're going to be making a bustier, you're going to be doing what we call bodice contouring, and that is what we will be doing in the next video before we move on to the corset part. Thank you.